How's your coffee, Andy?
It's lovely.
Welcome to Frame by Frame.
Thank you.
My son is here. He's awake.
He's playing with his left foot.
Yep. Nothing to do with Daniel Day-Lewis or movies, but he's making a reference already.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, this is episode 30. Can you believe it?
30.
30
Wow.
episodes. You know, it's hardly a 600 milestone like certain other people, but yeah, it's not 1,000.
No, but
it's 30.
It's 30. It's a number.
It's a round number.
It's a round number.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we thought we'd mark this momentous occasion by talking about a film.
A film.
We're going to differ from the norm and talk about a film.
Instead of talking about Spice Girls, Michael Bay, Chuck Norris. Oh, by the way, speaking of Chuck Norris, I think Peter Cushing is more hardcore than Chuck Norris.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of...
What would Chuck say about that?
Somebody sent me something. A friend who didn't realise we had a podcast until now sent me a Peter Cushing quote thing. And it goes like this. Peter Cushing, he killed Dracula with a pair of candlestick holders. He blew up Alderaan. He fought Daleks. He has been at the Earth's core. He's killed more vampires than Buffy. He's outsmarted Moriarty and verbally
bitch slapped Darth Vader.
So I beg your pardon, but do you really think Chuck Norris can do that?
But Chuck Norris Chuck Norris doesn't flush the toilet. He scares the poo out of it. Has Peter Cushing ever done that? See, I didn't swear because Aspen's there.
Yes, this episode is Universal C.
Oh, it's him. He just liked us. Robert, actually.
Robert, yeah. Bobcat.
Yeah. I saw him and I thought, he owns a gun.
He does.
I thought he just looks like a guy who owns a gun.
He's a big US history buff.
Awesome.
And, so if ever we wanted to talk about the Civil War, he'd be your guy.
Meaning Marvel's Civil War that's starting.
Marvel's Civil War that's happening.
Next
yeah.
year.
No, I think he might still want to talk about it.
If he wants to pay for us to do a special frame by frame over in America, that's fine.
Okay, if he's up for that.
Yeah.
Kentucky, he's from Kentucky, so that'll be interesting.
I'm happy with that.
Go watch the Wildcats.
Okay, Robert, if you want to pay for us to come and do a special frame by frame with you, I'm all up for that, mate.
And a Civil War reenactment while we're at it.
Okay. Yeah. Can I be Iron Man?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, it was a good one, Aspen.
Aspen didn't laugh. Tough crowd.
He's still on his left foot. That's okay.
And his right thigh.
He's learning. He's learning parts.
Actually, before we get into David Lynch is back on Twin Peaks.
He is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's been a big confusion on Twitter because because of the biker brawl that happened last week.
Yeah.
This episode is going to be very timely, unfortunately. But yeah, the biker brawl was in Twin Peaks, Texas.
Right. I didn't hear about this.
So they had the hashtag Twin Peaks shooting. So everybody on Twitter was jumping on saying, David Lynch is back! David Lynch is back! So I'm hoping that what you're saying isn't just on the spur off of the hashtag Twin Peaks shooting and everybody getting excited and thinking that David Lynch is in fact back in the chair. I'm hoping...
Well, what I'd heard is the dispute that he'd had with the distribution company was sort of like...
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the biker
been
brawl
sorted
stuff.
And
Yeah?
And they're coming back and doing more episodes than were initially.
So do you think it might have just been a hyperbole?
Well, what it was, they hadn't invested enough money in developing the scripts, and he wasn't happy about doing it.
But that's a game that you would normally have anyway. That's probably the same game that every director plays with production companies, and I think that because of Social Network, we hear about it.
Yeah.
Whereas normally we wouldn't usually hear about it.
Well, it's just with all these petition websites that you've got now, it's great.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden 30,000 people within a day had signed a petition to say bring Lynch back, give him what he wants.
Yeah. So at least producers and studios do get to have an idea of what people do think.
Yeah, and if
they're
the
able to
internet's good
gauge,
for one thing,
it informs them.
Yeah, we can, at least fight our corner a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon there's
So we've got
that.
We can fight our corner and fight for what we believe in and actually have a voice, and free porn. That's all the internet's good for. I want to combine both. Campaign and porn.
Close your ears. They call it crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And there's cluster for, it's so difficult being rude and dirty and lewd in front of a 5-month-old baby. So
because there's crowdfunding and
cluster.
So what we talk about, Leslie?
You talking to me?
Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
Well, who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like a clown. You?
I'm Peter Venkman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Man who doesn't spend time in the stand-up can never be a real man.
Damn! Hot.
I'm kind of a big deal.
First rule of Fight Club is do not talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, baby!
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Still working on your left foot. Okay, we're going to give you left foot updates throughout the episode.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
So before
Sock's coming off.
it's coming off. It's kind of like a live event in the background.
Yeah.
And the sock is off. Oh, it's fun, isn't it?
You wanted to acknowledge Letterman?
I do. I mean, it's kind of a weird feeling. I used to watch him prolifically ever since 1993, I think, around about that time when he actually got onto CBS, and I didn't understand the story behind his career change from NBC to CBS, but I was totally hooked on it that I bought the book. And I read all about it, and all of a sudden I was fascinated by this guy, and so I no matter where I was, I tried to get episodes.
Right.
And I watched it, and then it came on Sky, and then it was on ITV2, and we kind of had David Letterman on every week, and it was great. But then all the British broadcasting networks and the Sky networks decided, no, we're going to cut Dave Letterman, So the only way I could ever watch clips was actually from the website. So it kind of it's a bit bittersweet because I haven't been able to kind of generate that constant watching him consistently for 33 years, but I still kind of feel the loss that he's no longer there, because you kind of feel as though, he's been such a presence in my life, especially. He's influenced a lot of how I am, and understanding how you can be a goofball and be honest with yourself about that, and not worry about what people think.
Yeah.
And so I kind of attribute that part of me.
So like when Jerry Halliwell left the Spice Girls, that kind of loss.
Well,
not that strong then.
Yeah. Oh, this is sadness. But no, with Dave Letterman, it is a loss. He's been on their television for 33 years in America every night, and he's been part of pop culture.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
And when you're watching interviews, all these astonishing interviews with actors and directors and creative people, musicians especially, huge pull for musicians. Usually it's Dave Letterman's show that you're seeing these clips from, so it has been a big influence.
Oh.
And I think he's going to be missed.
I think so.
Yeah.
There was because I watched the Bill Murray bit coming out of the cake and all that.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where he was talking and saying, we built a friendship, and people are going to miss you, and Letterman looked like he was about to break down.
He's been very relaxed. Letterman has been very relaxed this last week, and I think that he's kind of just been telling himself, he used to beat himself up. Not literally. He used to, basically, his style is that he wanted to create the best show, the most entertaining show that he possibly could. And when he felt as though there was some nights it didn't work out, he would demand to get the tape of the recording,
Yeah.
and he'd lock himself in his office, and he would sit there and just curse.
I fucked up number 6.
No, you didn't.
No, I fucked it up. It was the only decent joke in the whole fucking show. And
It was funny.
Yeah,
It
it was
worked.
fun. It was funny.
It
I
played.
wasn't. Let me see the tape.
Now, why don't you just take a breather?
Give me the fucking tape.
What do you know of the man, like, away from the
Yeah.
show? What was he like? What's he like personally?
He was very reclusive, very
Yeah.
much a private man. He was, he ran his own team of cars. That sounds really dumbed down. He ran his own team of cars.
They drove
Yeah,
and stuff.
He did. So, in Indy 500, he had his own team.
Oh, like a race team.
He had his own race team. And he invested in that, and he was very much a part of that. He hung out with close friends and had dinner with Regis Philbin and Don Rickles and people who he was close to. But he was never a kind of a person who would open his door to everybody.
First of all, let me tell you a little bit about my life. It occurred to me a couple of years ago, I have an unusual life. For a long time, I just thought, well, we're all pretty much like me. Well, God forbid we're not. And but I have an odd life, and when I wake up, every day is like I've been abducted and taken to Disney World. Just every day. Just every day. You just never know, Yeah. And also, I've discovered over the last few years, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy. Here, let me tell you what. But listen, this has a glorious ending, so don't despair. By the time we're done, and I hope to God we have enough tape for this story. By the time something wonderful and lovely happens. So here's the deal. Now, I like to exercise, and when I exercise, I run. Now, well, that's kind of a euphemism now, but it's still, that's what I try to do. And I don't know if you're like me in this regard, but I don't like being photographed while I'm running. I don't. Maybe people like being photographed while they're exercising. I don't, for two reasons. One, you're just out there and you kind of, you like to sweat and smell bad and you're thinking of stuff, and that's, you like to be alone. And number two, when I run, I look like a plucked ostrich. So I don't, So now, like a year ago, I'm out running, and I run down to this track, and I'm running. And when I go out, I'm no piker. I'm out there for at least an hour. I'm doing like anywhere between 5 and 7, 7.5, 8 miles. So I'm out there running, ladies and gentlemen. So I can go down there, and I'm running around the track, and I see a guy with a camera. Now, it's not like a tourist. It's not like somebody from Des Moines. This is one of those guys. And so I run up to the guy and I say, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm taking your picture. And I say, well, I would rather you don't take my picture because I look like a plucked ostrich. Yeah. And so he and I get into a little bit of a tussle, and he says, well, this is my job. And he says, you're a celebrity and I can take all the pictures you want. Now, I realize now, okay, this is a professional. It's more or less a public place. There's not much I can do about this. You see, he's doing what he can do. Legally, I can't do a thing. So I came upon a little strategy, and it's a two-part. Loudly and intently, I scream obscenities at the guy. I get as close to him as I can, and I'm screaming obscenities to the guy. And the first reason I do this is because I want to make the experience as uncomfortable for him as he is making it for me. For you. And don't kid yourself, I've had pretty good luck with this strategy. Now, wait a minute. Now, the second reason I do this, when I scream the obscenities at these guys while they're taking my picture, the second reason, and God forgive me, I find it enormously satisfying. So,
of course, he had a stalker who invaded his house once, and these kind of things happened, and I think he just found himself. I found it a lot easier just to be private, and I'm surprised that he did so well. I mean, of course, once he had his son, paparazzi came out a lot more, and they wanted to just snapshots of him being a dad because they'd never seen that before. But on the show, he's always been that kind of person who says to people, "I never leave the house." He does.
Yeah.
He gets out. But that's kind of he kind of he does kind of come across as a sincere, and in his younger age he was a goofball.
Yeah.
Complete goofball, but he did things. I mean, if you see that in Practical Joker's show, he was doing that on Letterman. You know, just sitting in a car telling this guy to do embarrassing things to strangers and making them think that they're crazy. He did that. He dropped stuff off the top of buildings to see how they were smashed. Not like Gallagher does with melons, but you know, he did all this crazy stuff. He put cameras on monkeys.
Just want to interrupt here. The sock is off.
The sock is off. He has taken the sock off and he's enjoying looking at me with confusion. Oh, here we go. Daddy's making baby noises. We got a big smile. Big smile. He's happy with the podcast so far, I think.
Excellent.
But yeah, that's David Letterman. You know, whatever he's going to do, I don't think he's going to kind of do much television now. I don't think he's going to do anything else. I don't think there's going to be the big. They expected the big showdown interview between Jay Leno and Dave Letterman, but that never happened. Excuse me, is that an attention? Are you on attention? You saying get on with it.
No, I think he wanted the Leno interview, didn't he?
He does, yeah. He wants us to get on with it.
Yeah.
So, what film are we going to talk about for our 30th episode?
Get on with it. I think we should talk about It Follows.
Really? That film?
That film. The film that we both watched, so we could talk about it today.
Yeah.
I used to daydream about being old enough to go on dates. I had this image of myself holding hands with a really cute guy. Just having some sort of freedom, I guess.
Jay, I'm sorry. You're not gonna believe me, and I need you to remember what I'm saying. This thing, it's gonna follow you. Somebody gave it to me, and I passed it to you. Wherever you are, it's somewhere walking straight for you. All you can do is pass it along to someone else. What exactly is supposed to be following you?
I don't know.
Just pass it along.
You believe me, right?
Nothing's gonna happen.
See? Everything's okay. Is something wrong with me?
If it kills her, it goes straight down the line to whoever started it.
It's gonna be here sooner or later.
It Follows. Well,
Right, I went into this film thinking I'm going to like this.
yeah,
And
already.
I did like it. I think I'm pre-programmed to love films like this.
Yeah, I think that. Did you see the trailer before you
No.
watched it? Did you read anything about it before?
I'd heard Mark Kermode talk about it.
Ooh.
I tried not to listen, but I did.
You try not to listen. You click on something, you gotta.
Well, no.
You click on it and then go la 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 la. Hands over the ears, by the way.
Well, as you know, he reviews a lot of films, not just that one film. He's not like us.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So,
prolific.
and then he sort of talk about It Follows. I was like, oh no, don't. But I heard bits.
Yeah, but I think it kind of once you know that Mark Kermode is behind something, because he liked Borderlands.
He did.
He liked Unfriended, which is a bit of a.
That's made me want to watch it.
That makes me want to watch, because I think I trust him. I mean, he hated Sex and the City 2 so much, as did I.
That's my favourite rant.
That was amazing
ever.
rant.
Oh.
And I've been listening to Kermode since.
Oh, I have
since he introduced
since Sliced Bread.
Yeah, he used to introduce Channel 4.
What I love about his Sex and the City 2 rant was like he starts it by saying, "Right, we're expecting a rant." He goes, "I'm not going to give you a rant. The film doesn't deserve a rant. I'm not going to give you one. It's because it's that bad. It's not worth me getting angry."
The
and
irony.
then he gets himself angry and ends up having this massive rant.
It's the biggest rant that he's ever given.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And you can always, I think that, if we ever preface a show by saying we're not going to rant, I mean, I think Enfield was probably our biggest.
Yeah.
Enfield
Well,
poltergeist.
we sort of try to look at the good in things, don't we? Even if it's not particularly good, try and find
Yeah,
something in there that is good.
But the Conjuring 2, I don't think we've managed to.
The Enfield.
It pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm just hoping. Sorry, Dasper. Sorry for your dad being so rude. But I'm just hoping that it's like a fan-made trailer, that, and it'll not be like that. But
Yeah,
it's Hollywood, you know.
it's Hollywood. I mean,
It's
come on.
Hollywood.
They want to remake Don't Look Now, which is in the vein of It Follows. I know eventually
They're remaking The Craft.
Oh,
Why?
The Craft.
The Craft, that sort of cult witch film.
That was a lovely film. That
They're remaking
Love it. Oh, but why?
Exactly, why?
But the thing is, it kind of makes me think. I mean, It Follows is a unique, original story.
Yeah.
Okay, but it does lend itself to referencing a lot of pop culture and retro films that we enjoy and love from the 80s.
That opening scene where it just fades in and you're in like American suburbia, and that woman just walks out and the camera just one shot. So it's just pure Halloween. It's like around the ending part of Halloween, and it's brilliant, really well shot.
It is, and it's kind of, you're just following the action, and you're thinking, well, it doesn't seem, there's nothing chasing her, there's nothing there, and she's just going from one place to the other. She seems like something's bothering her.
Her dad's like calling after her, and she's just ignoring him. It seems a bit weird.
Yeah. And
then she drives to the ocean. And then she's just sat there on the phone, like
saying goodbye
to her mum and dad, apologising in tears. And the only thing that's lighting her up is the headlights of the car.
Yeah.
And it's quite a nice little shot.
Beautifully done. Yeah.
And then you see the next day, and she's been all cracked into a weird...
Into a broken... Yeah, which is... And that reminded me of is it Laura?
Oh right, yeah.
Laura Palmer. Laura Palmer when she was found on the beach.
Yeah,
that just reminded me of that.
Wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
There's a fish in the percolator.
So yeah, I mean, it reminded me of Twin Peaks. It reminded me of course, Carpenter films of the 80s.
See, this is the thing.
Fascinating.
I've said before, where like John Carpenter in the 80s was referencing films from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Stuff that he was inspired by. Now, 30 years on, filmmakers are referencing the films that they were influenced by, which is John Carpenter.
It's generational.
So it's a loop, isn't it? That just keeps...
Exactly.
So in like 30 years' time, people might be referencing the director of It Follows and doing things like that. It's...
Or Ouija.
Yeah.
Which has been referenced as the other horror film that's been out relatively in the same time and is completely horrible, just like all the other despicable horror films that are out. But when you kind of being fed a certain food like Conjuring, like Insidious, like Ouija, like Paranormal Activity, when you're being fed this kind of diet, you kind of get used to it. And you kind of can become complacent. You end up saying things like, "Oh, it's not the best horror film. It didn't really scare me, but it was okay. It was good. It was okay." There was some, but I think a lot of it's in desperation because we desperately need to feel as though there's something going, that there's something that we're taking from these films.
Yeah, there's that, and there's a part I just like horror films as a genre. So sometimes I really enjoyed like a really terrible horror film.
I mean, The Rite was rubbish. From Hell was okay. Evil Dead, of course, is incredible. I might watch that again.
Have you seen the remake of Evil Dead?
I don't think I have.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Grave Encounter. Stir of Echoes was okay. Again, but the thing is, we programmed because we desperately...
That's good.
We're used to having a diet, and if you're used to eating something, and because you gotta digest it, you gotta eat. The guy's gotta eat, and if they're eating gruel, you kind of just appreciate the fact that you've actually got food to eat. But when a film like Starry Eyes comes out, like this, it kind of makes you look at that gruel that you've been eating and thinking, oh God, well, I can't believe I've been missing out all along on this. Well, there's The Craft. You see, films like The Wolfman, a totally rubbish film, really rubbish. I mean, it's there's nothing in it that's memorable. So, but It Follows is definitely not one of those kind of films. And it steps out because it's... do you want attention? The wide-angle shots are absolutely beautiful. The colour, the hue, there's a certain warmth to it.
Yeah. Which
is was very surprising for these kind of films. Starry Eyes was, to me, very cold.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a very blue tints, all of that. But this one, it didn't do that. It stayed warm, and that's very rare. It was golden. It was crisp. It was kind of like summer. Whereas Starry Eyes was winter. It was kind of, it felt totally out of place for a horror film to be there, but it was so clear, so crisp, beautiful.
And the idea of it's essentially this thing, whatever it is a sexually transmitted disease.
That's fascinating. Yeah,
that's a nice concept.
Especially when all the horror films that we're used to, it's usually the virgins who are the ones who survive at the end.
Well, again, I suppose it goes back to that. The moment you have sex in a horror film, then your number's up.
Yeah.
But sort of like the video in Ring, you have to get someone else to watch the video, and it's passed on to that person.
Which is kind of odd because this is kind of the one thing that a lot of these films have, is that, you know, as soon as she passes it on to the group of sailors. Hello, sailor. She obviously sees these three guys in a boat. Why they're not gay, you know. That'll be even funnier if she actually went there and they actually rejected it because they were actually free gay men. That would have been an interesting scene than the frustration that she has.
But that's a really dark scene, isn't it? Where she swims out and you don't see anything, but you know that she has sex with three guys on a boat.
Yeah, most likely. And then they would have passed. She basically passed the walker.
Yeah.
The walker, I guess.
Yeah.
To them, but then it must kill them because it comes back to her.
Yeah.
So whoever was the last person to have possession of this curse, if the last person dies, then it goes back back along the chain, which is a bit strange how it can be selective in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how, you know. Of course, if there was any other way, then we'll never get back to the girl.
Yeah. But the beauty of it is you don't see any reason why. That's what I love in a horror film.
Yes, there's no reason.
Answering questions. There's
ambiguous.
No reason for it. Exactly. It's just it wants to kill that person.
Is there only one? Is it only one, or are there many its?
Well, you don't know, because at one point it's an old lady walking towards, and then it's that big tall bloke, and
that tall guy. It was the tall guy that fascinated me the most because he was seen least on screen, and he just appeared in kind of this half in the shadows. I mean, there's that brilliant moment where she's run up the stairs after seeing that woman urinating all over her kitchen floor.
Yeah, walking towards her,
which the choices that it selects to kind of have an image. I don't know what that comes from, but it's very odd.
Yeah.
But then
she locks herself in a room, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She's terrified, and then her friends are on the other side of the door knocking and wanting to get in.
Yeah, a couple come in, and then the girl with the glasses, Yama.
Yeah. She's like, what the hell's going on? Then
Girl
this big
glasses,
tall bloke just walks in.
He just walks right behind her.
Yeah.
And it's just out of nothing. And I think, you know, to be honest, it's very hard to like that kind of thing. I mean, he's wearing a big bright white t-shirt, and he still seems to come from nothing, which is really well done.
Yeah.
And of course, they can do it with crossfades and all kinds of things. You know,
well, it's all clever lighting.
It's all clever, and also maybe a bit of special effects just to kind of push him away until the last moment.
But
it's incredible.
But at that point, then she runs away. She gets on a bike, doesn't she?
She pedals away.
Yeah, and she gets to that playground. And it's the most exposed place, and as a viewer, then you're looking in every part of that woodland surrounding the playground.
Now you're in there,
walking towards it. Exactly. That film has you.
That film has you, and it has you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of odd because the creature doesn't pounce until it's right in front of you, and there are moments where it doesn't even kill straight away. I mean, it grabbed her hair. At the beach, and because it took the image, the vision of her friend Yama, Yala. What was her name? I need to know. What was the name of the film? It
Follows.
Comes.
That's the porn version.
Yeah, we watched the Red Letter Media interview, so it's influencing. Okay, so let's let's have a look here. Yara is the girl with the glasses, the film character. And it basically copies her. Creates a copy, a doppelganger, if you will. And we see because we see her walking by just as he goes off
just
to
in
pee.
the back of the screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back of the shot, and she's just walking towards very slowly.
But we watch it unconcerned to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like until she starts to float on the dinghy in the river, then we kind of think, oh, but she's there. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
But it doesn't kill her straight away. I mean, why doesn't it kill her like the mother character did for the other guy who just suddenly opens the door and then she just flies on him and grinds him, which is, awkward. Oedipus moment. There's for some reason sex seems to be the thing that it's craving. Thank goodness Grandma didn't catch up with her first of all, because that would have been a very awkward movie.
But that again is done. I know, but that's done so well, because at first you just see there's people walking around and there's just someone walking towards, but you don't even pay any attention to it. It's just someone walking.
Yeah.
And then you see her in the classroom, the Halloween moment, where she looks out and then notices something.
Yes.
Halloween's Mike Myers, and it's an old lady just walking towards. She's like, well, it's okay. Then, like Halloween, she just turns away, looks around, and looks back. It's still walking towards her.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's really well done.
But it's like you start to envision, like with zombie films especially, what venues could they have taken this? Where could they have gone? And I could never have guessed that they would actually end up at a swimming pool. But then I'm starting to think about the theme of water and the theory of what does water mean? Because no matter where they go, I mean, she starts off in her own swimming pool next to her house. That's how we're introduced. Of course, the first girl dies near water.
Which even that scene is weird, and I was expecting something to jump out at that scene.
Where
just at the very beginning of the swimming pool, and she's just lied in it, and it's very odd the way she's.
Which is I mean, it's setting up the character, and
I know
it is odd. Would you like your thing again? Keep the audience entertained, Andy.
So, baby news. Aston has a collection of toys all around him. Now he's got the dummy in his mouth. The sock is off, and the left foot is doing quite a lot of kicking.
He needs to be a little bit active, so I'm going to put him in a thing.
In a thing. The sock's going back on. Aspen seems ambivalent about the sock coming back on. Now he's in a thing.
It's called Blossom Farm.
Blossom Farm, he's in Blossom Farm.
Is it Blossom Farm?
I did!
I call it Blossom Hill, I call it all many names. I've taken the Blossom Farm part off because it kind of makes noises. And, okay, done.
Awesome. So yeah, it follows.
Yeah, so water is a thing, and I wonder if is water a conductor? Is it something that the teenagers are drawn to?
Well, holistic people seem to think that water has memory.
Yeah,
a lot of hauntings are by water because a lot of people believe in that kind of thing. Would say that the water can hold memory, remembers things.
So are they that tuned in, these kids, or is it just simply a natural thing that water seems to be their element of safety?
Is there a certain aspect of escape? You escape via water?
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, an ocean
water
of water
can be clean, to be cleansed, to be in the water. Baptism.
What happens after sex? You want to have a shower? Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Water. It just seemed to be very odd that water was so much a part of this, and their ultimate solution was to draw it to a swimming pool so that they could electrocute it.
Yeah.
Which, what did you think about that idea of we can't shoot it, but if we lure it to a swimming pool, we might be able to electrocute its ass?
Yeah, it seemed a bit not in keeping with the rest of the film.
It does, yeah. It seems to be a bit of a stretch, a bit of a reach, and it doesn't work. It makes an interesting climactic scene, but
right. Imagine this.
Okay.
The producers asked us in for a meeting. Oh God! All right. I got an idea for the end of your film. Electrocute the thing. I go, well, no, that's not in the story. No, there's no action. The end. Electrocute the thing. Could it have been a studio idea?
It's kind of like the A-Team, where the team they all get together. If you actually had that theme thumping music behind it while they're setting up all the different a myriad of different items, plethora of different items.
Yeah, where they make a nuclear fusion device out of some matches and BA's breath.
I mean, but they're taking a bit of a leap here to say that bullets can't harm it, so maybe we can just electrocute it. But it's a swimming pool. There's a lot of water there. If you lured it, I thought they were going to lure it to the small pool. That would have been better because it's a small pool and all you need is a good whisk. But they're throwing lamps, TVs, and the thing is that it comes along and starts throwing stuff at the girl who's in the pool anyway. So it's kind of like, well, didn't think about that one, did you guys? So yeah, I think it was a bit of a reach, and I think it probably was a bit of an intervention for the sake of having a climactic scene.
Yeah.
But then, Yara gets shot because the guy's that good.
Yeah, with a gun.
I mean, the actual possibility of anybody else in that area being shot, it just so happens that she's directly in the way of that bullet, which is a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But the distance is quite. Or was it? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that was.
And doesn't she have sex with a friend in the hospital? She has sex with quite a few of her friends, doesn't she?
Well, she has sex with both the guys. The long-haired guy she has sex with because he's
that's the one who gets killed by his mum, isn't it?
Yeah, because he has I think he's trying to help her. He's just trying to say, look, let me take it. He's drawn it away from her, giving a bit of relief, and nothing seems to be bothering him. So until she loses contact with him one night, thinking, oh well, he's not answering his phone. Then she goes over there.
Oh, she looks out the window, doesn't she, and sees.
She sees it.
Sees her mum, isn't it? Who knocks on the door very weirdly and then goes through the window.
Yeah, but that's another thing. I mean, only the person who's been itted can actually see them, right?
Yeah.
Unless you are previous. I mean, if you've been previously.
Yeah, because the guy who gives her the it, he can still see them.
Yeah, so that's the funny thing. So you still have it, but it's not into you.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
It's
so not into you.
It's so not into you, which is another movie completely for a Jennifer Aniston device. Should have been interesting in this movie.
Yeah, she should have played it. You know, that's something else they're remaking. It.
They're remaking it, so it will follow it.
It's the remake of It will follow It Follows.
But okay. So the guy gets killed, and then all of a sudden it's back to her.
Yeah.
So in the end, she has sex with Paul, who has been kind of. I think he's been.
Yeah, he sort of had a crush on her his whole life, I think.
Yeah, and they were each other's first kiss, which might have been that. I don't know, but then I'm starting to wonder how did this all start? I mean, it's not as if there's a big line behind, her first boyfriend. There's nothing before then to say that there's been a big line of people going missing or getting murdered or killed. It just seems to start with that guy.
It does, yeah, but again, I like how it's not answered. You don't know where it's come from. I just hope they don't do a prequel.
I don't think they'll.
It's beginning.
I don't think they're going to do a prequel, but I do think they're going to do a sequel with Jay and Paul looking into the origins of it.
Right.
So I have a feeling it might kind of go down a sense of the Mothman prophecies, where they're trying to figure out how it all came about, what it's all about. It might even be like the Blair Witch, where they're literally just so fascinated they're just going to do a found footage thing. Who knows what they're going to do with it? But they're both at the end, and we kind of assuming that something's following both of them.
Yeah.
Well, following one of them, because it'll only be following one of them at a time. So as long as it's the same director doing the same thing, and furthering the story. But I think that he does have. I've read that he does have more story to tell.
Good.
That this isn't actually just it. It doesn't just begin and end with it. It's gonna continue, and I don't know if it follows to.
It continues to follow.
It's still there.
Yeah,
it's still with me. So who knows? Who knows what they're going to do with it? But I'm hoping that. The problem is whenever you do have sequels, the first film is great. Second film can be great if the same director's with it. By the third or the fourth, there's some schmuck who was called up on Craigslist to just go say, "Do you want to direct a movie?" Yeah, my favorite films are.
Yeah, it's some DP somewhere.
Yeah, well, Yanderbont.
Oh yeah, right.
Who did Speed, and that was the only. I mean, sometimes cinematographers are good directors, sometimes they're not. So yeah, I mean, it depends on who is going to take the reins if they do carry on. I mean, maybe he's going to be one of these smart directors who keeps hold of it and doesn't let it go anywhere else.
Yeah. But one thing I loved about this was its soundtrack.
Oh, let's talk about the soundtrack.
Yeah. It harked back to early zombie films. Obviously, Carpenter, he was very Carpenter-esque.
Yeah, Terminator kind of. It had that kind of a sense of tech noir. The synthesizers, the kind of the low, grungy beat that they had that was so raw. It was really nice to hear. In fact, I really want that soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm sure we can get hold of it.
Yeah, and it creates a kinetic energy to it, and it's not always. And then it has that kind of a gentleness to it as well. It's not all.
Oh, it's not in your face.
No, it's very. Yeah, I mean, there's been a few good soundtracks lately. Also for games. I mean, The Last of Us is probably one of my favourites of the last 5 years. But I don't think Starry Eyed. I remember the soundtrack. The film itself was just too much.
It was a lot to take in that film.
The good thing about this film as well, that stands out other than music, is the lack of music, silence.
Yeah.
The
music is not telling you what to think.
No,
in this film,
it doesn't.
It doesn't need to. It's creepy,
it's
and you're always waiting for the next thing to happen, or looking into the corner of the screen to see if something's walking towards it. You don't need the music to be going.
Yeah, it's not your emotional compass.
No.
It's not there to fill in the gaps.
And I think that's lazy filmmaking a lot of the time, where they'll use the music.
Yeah, it's
to tell you how you're supposed to be feeling. Right, you're supposed to be scared at this bit, and then there's going to be a big bang to make you jump.
Yeah, and then we're going to kind of just take it easy. Now we've got a thunder scene, so let's have easy, gentle plucking of a guitar just to kind of emphasize that. And it's all emphasis. It's all kind of trying to heighten that emotion to the highest extreme, so that you're that much more invested than you would normally be if there was no music. But then silence has that ability to kind of.
But there's something very unnatural about silence.
You
know what I mean? You never really have silence in everyday life. Even when no one's talking, you can still hear something.
Ambience, yeah.
But when there's absolute silence on film, it's unnerving and.
Yeah, and I always wonder how long you can play that with an audience, and I think we tried that ourselves. We had the unpacking of the box in CACO3.
Yeah,
that was a long scene that didn't have any music, didn't have any dialogue. It was just the sound of you opening the package, and it was a lot shorter than it was when we filmed it.
Yeah, we'll tell me about. It's because you made it impenetrable. The box, I couldn't get in it.
But that's it. I mean, it kind of lingered. It lingered so much that once you kind of, and I think that's probably something is a part of our learning. You know, maybe there was a different way of doing it, but we kind of wanted to kind of punctuate the silence a little bit before we went to the climax.
Yeah,
and that's what this does. But of course, to a professional standard. Yeah, we're not that good.
But no. But the thing is like what we recognised we were trying to do with CACO3. We put the little Halloween homage in there when the light came on.
Yes,
and
we had that nice slow.
We knew
pace.
what we were sort of going towards, and that's what it does brilliantly.
Yeah, and transitions as well. I mean, it's not afraid to walk the entire corridor. It's not afraid to walk the whole street, to take the car for a long journey, to kind of stare at somebody for a few minutes, looking at their phones or watching the TV. It's not afraid to just let it happen.
That was another thing.
Okay.
The kid that kept peeking at her. That time when she was in her bedroom and there's a knock at the window, when she runs to the window and there's nothing there.
The red shirt.
Yeah, and then you see the outside and it's just that kid ducking behind the window has been perving on her.
Yeah.
It was like 2 or 3 times. It happened in the swimming pool.
Yes.
And those kids were staring at her.
At the very beginning, that was the first kind of...
Someone's linking their fight to always being watched.
Yeah.
There's another part of this.
Well, maybe there was not... Maybe there weren't 2 kids there, maybe there was just one, and then the other one is just this...
But it wasn't following her at that point.
No, it wasn't, no. But whatever that is, it could be separate. I mean, there was a red ball that hit the window when she was just checking herself.
When they went into that cinema, that was all red.
That red is another theme in this that makes you wonder, where does that come from and why? And but white. Everybody wore white. The It Follows was white.
Yeah.
At the end, they wore black and white. I mean, colours. There's so much going on that it's symbolism. It's thick with symbolism all the way through.
Going back to that cinema scene, I really liked that where they were like saying, "So, who've you noticed? Who's most like you?" And then they pick someone, and then he looks round to pick someone who thinks that she's clocked. So it's just, "Oh, that little boy there." And she looks, and there's no one there. What little boy? And then he freaks out, and they have to get out. And...
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's really good. It sort of plants the seed, thinking, "Hang on,
what's wrong with this?" It's like that.
But I'm surprised that guy could actually have sex with her. Because if you were that freaked out that thing's coming for you, 24 hours a day, no matter where you are, it's trying to get to you. To perform would have been difficult sexually.
True. But it's not as if
she was quite hot though. So I would have gone through it.
She had a Kaylee Cuoco kind of.
She does,
thing.
yeah.
But it was an intention for him to try and break the pattern, wasn't it? I mean, it was passed to him, so obviously passing it to her, he wanted to do something differently. He wasn't just going to screw her and then dump her and leave her. He wanted to show her what it was, so that she had a chance to figure it out. And I don't know why that was. Why she is our protagonist in this movie, and he's letting her know, because he must know that if she dies, it goes back to him anyway.
Yeah.
So, what do you reckon?
He's having a ball over there, isn't he?
He's having fun, and he's got Sorry on television with Ronnie Corbett.
Just watched the episode of the two Ronnies. It's great.
Yeah, and he's turned himself around. Have you noticed he's turned himself around in that Bumble Farm thing, and he's just looking at Sorry, which I don't remember ever.
No, neither do I.
Yeah, but so It Follows.
yeah, I would recommend this film. Do you think it speaks to the wide variety of horror enthusiasts out there? I
think that some are going to struggle with the pace.
Yeah.
Some are going to be saying it's a bit slow. Nothing really happens.
Where's all the gore?
Where's all the gore? Yeah, but there's gore in the beginning, because naturally somebody has to die to kind of prove the point. We have to also see one of the friends die, or at least one of them. Only one of them dies, though. The other one gets shot.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the Yara theory that's been going around certain forums, that she has something to do with it.
Really?
That she there's certain things that she seems to be the kind of the character who is least invested in the circle of friends. She's kind of very much into her own thing. She's reading her poem thing, reading that story. She's kind of separate on the beach. She wants to be in the water, separate. There's also the thing where they're kind of saying that she was the one who brought the tall character into the bedroom, that she actually was with the character.
Interesting.
There's the potential that her getting shot coincided with the disappearance of it.
I've only seen it once, you've seen it twice, so would you agree with all that? thinking back, it seems quite.
It's a plausible thing that she's still alive. She's still set up for the next film, but she seems to be kind of say things about her palm reader that are relevant at the time. Something about the souls, never, a part of you leaving the soul, and she seems to be kind of into something else that is outside of the circle. And I'm just kind of wondering, what is that? What is that about? And when I kind of looked it up to find out what other people had thought, they had this whole theory that she is the actual she's the one who brought this curse about, and that she started it to.
I'm having a look now, see if there's been a second one
announced. We'll have a look on here. What do you reckon, Aspen? Are they going to make another one? Ask a baby a question. You see, he's young, isn't he? How old is he?
Director, yeah.
Graduated from Florida State University. Well, somebody has to. Yeah, there's nothing announced.
No, I can't find anything.
It follows.
Well, I'd like to see that film that is based more around her and whether she's part of this.
Yeah,
I think I'd like to have those questions answered.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on there, and I think there's we like the idea of ambiguity in film, and I think it's causing people to kind of build theories because they don't know, and that's great. That's great. I mean, we've had a good. I think this Halloween, well, I'm going to put a showcase of films on. I think for the neighborhood to watch, and I think it's going to be a completely different list than it ever has been. Before, we've had Poltergeist, Chainsaw Massacre, you've got your typical Halloween film, Friday the 13th, but now you've got Babadook, Starry Eyes, and you've got It Follows. In the last year...
Maybe Unfriended
if it's any good, but in the last year we've had 3 really good movies, horror movies, that have stepped up into the kind of like the top 20 at least. And that's impressive.
It is.
And I think maybe we're starting to move towards a new renaissance period.
Yeah, I just think horror as a genre will always be one of the most popular genres because people want to be scared. You want to go into a home theatre and be scared.
Exactly. And what was that?
I do.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I mean, that's the Enfield Haunting, the TV series on Sky
I really
Living.
enjoyed it.
Did you enjoy that?
I did. I finished it on Monday.
Yeah, let's talk about that then. We've done It Follows, and we've got we're just coming up to the 55-minute mark now, so we've still got a few minutes to talk about.
Mr. Gross, can I ask you something? How many poltergeists have you actually dealt with?
None.
This is a house of death. For you.
If this is fraud, then you should be able to find proof of fraud.
This is a house of death. For you.
It's not supposed to do that.
Worthy took liberties with the stories. I didn't mind that much, to be honest with you. A lot of it, even though I knew a lot about the Enfield horror, the Enfield Poltergeist, I wasn't aware that his daughter had recently been.
Is that true though? Is
true.
That is actually true?
After we watched the 3rd instalment, we watched a documentary on YouTube about it, and it was true.
Oh yeah, because I had no idea.
That's what made him interested in the afterlife. Is he wanted to find that the fact that he never actually spoke to her through the girl. But I thought that was a lovely moment.
Well, they needed to take a drama. They needed to create a drama, so they found the drama was with him.
Yeah,
more than the girl. It was about him.
It was about him, and he was keeping it there because he was so desperate to speak to his daughter again. And it was him who wasn't letting go of the poltergeist. It wasn't the family. It was him.
And that's interesting.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, so
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it does put a nice spin on it. It does. I mean, Timothy Small he did really well.
He should be in everything, Timothy Small.
He has, but
I really enjoyed the Enfield
Haunting.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It was it didn't undermine the story. the real, whatever the real story actually is.
Yeah, it added a few layers to it, which were good dramatically.
And the girl who played the main, the little girl, what's it? I forget her name now, but she was brilliant.
Yeah, she did really well. There was a nice story between the two girls at the beginning of the film about the dog licking the hand.
Yeah, it was a creepy sort of scary story before bed.
Which is a great way to start a movie.
Yeah.
A mini-series even. Even if they released this as a movie, it would have been worthy of cinematic
Absolutely,
release.
yeah. It has some really great pieces.
A 3-hour horror film. I mean, who does that? That could have been really
David
good.
Lynch. But I love that scene where there's a knock. When you think everything's fine now.
Yeah.
They've got rid of it, and you hear that knock on the door, and she thinks it's Morris, who's played by Timothy Spall. So she runs to the door, and there's no one there, and she looks out, and the door shuts behind her. So she's like, she can't get in, and she's shouting, and she thinks, oh, right. So she goes round the back of the house, and then she looks through the kitchen window, and she sees herself sat with her mum and her sister.
It's a gorgeous moment.
It's beautiful, and then
it reminds me of something.
This spectral image of herself just stares at her through the window, and you think,
great.
oh, it's all going to happen again.
Yeah,
and she freaks out. It's brilliant. It's really well done.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't stick any of the stuff that we thought they were going to put in about her levitating and being thrown from the bed and the pictures becoming famous or anything like that. They took that out, and maybe rightly so, because it wasn't dramatic, and we know that's what the Enfield Poltergeist is about. But they needed to give something fresh and new, a different angle on it, so that we were more surprised. We weren't expecting it, and I think that, like you say, that scene just then, that's worthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Worthy of note. And I'm hoping, now that this is out, that the Conjuring 2 guys, if they have stolen the entity, the intellectual property of the Enfield Poltergeist in its title, and rehashed it into something that is just another haunted house movie, we'll kind of think twice.
Well, if you've already shot it, then there's nothing we can do about it. But in that trailer, if that is an actual trailer and not just something fans have done, I mean, it was a big manor house in the middle of nowhere.
Again.
Yeah, not like a council house in the middle of a housing estate in London. It had like proper, full-blown crazy possessions with distorted faces, and it's
the stuff that we want to move away from now.
I think there's a place for that, but
for up and coming directors who are learning their craft, maybe.
Yeah,
but they shouldn't be given such huge budgets to play with when they're doing it, because that's money that could be well spent on two really good independent movies, rather than one really stupid learning lesson for one up and coming director. That's kind of where I kind of see it as being a bit of a waste.
What I would like now with the Enfield Haunting is when it gets released on DVD, Blu-ray, there might be a new documentary about the actual case.
Yes,
that's been done.
Yeah, without Philip Schofield.
Because the main girl in it, she is now a little bit more vocal about what happened, and
yeah. I wonder what she thought about it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it, but yeah, It Follows. Watch, it's really good, and if you haven't seen the Enfield Haunting, watch that too. Yeah, it's really good.
There we go.
Yeah, episode 30 wrapped
in the bag, and Aspen totally didn't kick off or cry.
No, he's loved it.
Really impressed.
Having the ball over there, isn't
he? Yeah. I think I took his Blossom Farm noisy toy away from him, but that's okay. You
can give it him back now.
Shall we give it him back and see what it actually does? This is what you would have heard, guys. Isn't that just class? So here we go, Aspen. You missed it. It's here. There you go. Go nuts. So, is there anything else you want to say about on this 30th episode?
It's been a pleasure.
We'll have a long look back now on all our best moments.
No, let's not do that.
Do you remember that first episode?
The Babadook, I do. Yeah.
Do you think we're getting better?
I think so.
Do you think we're more relaxed?
Yeah. Probably not.
Do you want to make a podcast? Create another frame by frame. We are consistent with it every week. The future's bleak, it's anybody's game. We owe it to our fans now, all 12 of them, and both of them are my mum. Do you want to make a podcast? You could even mention Spice Girls. Sounds like fun. It's like with Blade Runner. I have to have them all. See the differences there and then. I have to have that comparison.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's somehow put all five.